Charles Oliveira is the best story in MMA, and he has been for about 2 years now. If you've seen any of my work in the past, you know that anytime it's time to talk about Bronx, you can count on me bitching and complaining about how he doesn't get the respect that he deserves. The fact that the general population seems to believe that Khabib Nurmagomedov is unquestionably the best lightweight of all time bothers me quite a bit. Not because he isn't worthy of the consideration, but because Oliveira's record and career is arguably more impressive than his, and the Brazilian historically hasn't received 1/10 of the love or attention. There are a lot more recognizable names on Oliveira's resume than there are on Khabib's, and while Oliveira isn't undefeated and has 8 losses, he also has 12 more professional fights than Nurmagomedov. He also has a higher volume of fights against higher caliber of competition, and he just didn't fight better competition much earlier in his career. He got more impressive finishes against that better competition. You may ask yourself why, after all these years of doing the same or better than Khabib has ever done, that it's only now in 2022 that Oliveira is getting his due. All the while, Khabib has been held in the highest regard with more reverence than the rest. And the explanation for this is pretty simple. It's because nobody talks about Charles Oliveira. You don't have 20 of the highest profile people in the industry who are in the public eye week in, week out, singing his praises for the past 5 years. Between Daniel Cormier, who's been on the mic in one form or another for every other week for years on end, the entire roster of high profile fighters from AKA who are doing interviews and tweeting on a constant basis, all the coaches from AKA, and hate him or love him, the biggest, most influential manager in the game, Ali Abdelaziz, singing his praises in most appearances, Instagram posts, and interviews over the past 5 years. Khabib's name has been getting mentioned and talked about by some of the most influential people on all the biggest platforms this sport has to offer, literally thousands of times in the past 2 years between the interviews, the tweets, and whatever else. Oliveira has never had anything close to that type of public support. But what's so beautiful about his story and where he's at now entering this fight is that he's finally getting the credit and attention he so rightfully deserves. He didn't land in this position by being a personality or being a character outside of the cage and on social media and essentially having a PR team behind him. He got in this position from putting on absolutely stellar performances against the elite talent in both the featherweight and lightweight division since day one under the UFC banner. Oliveira straight up commanded the respect and attention through nothing more than the merit of his unbelievable performances. All it took was an 11-fight win streak with 10 stoppages, including fights that he put away Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje faster than Khabib was able to do it, and also including one of the most dramatic and controversial weigh-ins ever, which saw him get utterly screwed out of his title, only for him to put all of that aside and to go out and score the victory the very next day. I'm even annoying myself with how much I've been sort of championing this cause for Oliveira, and just not understanding why he's been constantly overlooked. People in this sport have such short memories, and that includes myself. It's nobody's fault. There's just an impossibly busy news cycle with no time to properly digest one event because the next week we're already looking forward to the next. But even in the last 2 fights for Oliveira after he won the title, he still wasn't being treated as the A side in terms of the promotion from the UFC and treatment from the fans and media. So it's really satisfying to see him finally in a position where it seems like he's getting the proper attention. Heading into a fight against a very dangerous challenger who is equipped with the same PR machine Khabib had behind him, but this time, not on the wrong end of receiving a disproportionate amount of the attention. Speaking of Islam Machkchev, that is a very dangerous man and a very worthy challenger with one of the lightweight greats in the training room with him his entire career and in his corner as well. But he hasn't fought anybody like Oliveira before. With respect to his previous competition, nobody he's competed against comes handy to the level that Bronx is at. I'm not prepared to make an official pick just yet. I do think it's entirely possible that Machkchev is the monster that he's believed to be. He has been incredibly impressive, but he has yet to fight the upper echelon of the lightweight division, so a lot of questions are going to be answered at UFC 280. So at this point in the week, I really don't know how I feel about how this whole thing's going to go down. But there is one thing I do know with absolute certainty. If Oliveira goes in there and beats Machkchev, there is no question. He officially becomes the better and more impressive champion that Khabib ever was. If that were to happen, Nurmagomedov can have 100 talking heads on the biggest media platforms in the game telling us otherwise, but it will not be enough. It'll be Oliveira who has the title of the greatest lightweight champion the UFC's ever had. And the single and only way for that dispute to be settled is for Khabib to come out of retirement and prove the world otherwise. This fight on Saturday night is technically for the vacant lightweight title, but everybody knows the truth. The UFC knows it, Dana White knows it, the fans and the media know it. There is a lightweight champion and he has a name, and that name is Charles Oliveira.